Allies of President Trump are planning to go after the media. Now, they're hoping, according to an Axios report, to raise about $2 million ahead of the 2020 election to attack members of the press. Now, these are media outlets that include the New York Times and the Washington Post. So now, the news outlets, the news outlet reports, this is Axios again, that the group or that officials told them that the group will target reporters and editors and will link damaging information about them to friendly media outlets. Now, this would include Breitbart, Fox News, and other publications on the right. Now, Axios is reporting that among the group's primary targets are CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, BuzzFeed, HuffPost, and, quote, all others that routinely incorporate bias and misinformation in their coverage. Now, let me tell you, who does not have a bias? Everybody has a bias. You literally cannot have a reporter that doesn't have some sort of bias. Well, look, I'm honest about my bias. I'm a progressive, right? Now, does being a progressive make it so that I can't report factual information? No, of course not. I can report factual information, and then I can give you my opinion on it. I do it every day. And so it's kind of hilarious. Like, oh, I can't believe that a news agency would be biased at all. I did not know that there is gambling in this establishment. Very, very angry about that. What do you think? Of course, everybody's got a bias. Everybody has a perspective. But look, you want to talk about misinformation? Okay, well, that's an issue. Why don't we talk about Breitbart that routinely publishes misinformation, or Gateway Pundit that literally makes things up on the spot, or Fox News lies and prevaricates. And look, there's issues where CNN, MSNBC will also publish false reports in New York Times, but then they will go back and they will retract that information and be like, we messed up. Whereas you almost never see that happen on the right. I think Fox News has retracted a couple of reports now and then. And so at least they have some standards, right? So now, more to this report from Axios. The group includes people like GOP consultant Arthur Schwartz, as well as a loose network of conservative operatives allied with the White House, who, according to a report in the New York Times last week, are looking to discredit news organizations deemed hostile to the president. Well, now that's the only qualification here. You don't actually have to be doing fake news. You don't actually have to be making things up. You just have to be, quote unquote, hostile to President Trump, i.e., not agree with him, even though when he even like I'm thinking of the right word, but when he counteracts himself, when he goes out and says something false, and then later on says, no, I didn't say that. Well, he does it all the time. What are you talking about? If anybody's hostile to President Trump, it's President Trump, because he says all these things and lies all the time. And it's verifiable. You can go point it out. You can even look at it. You can watch video. He's on video saying one thing, later on saying something else, and then later on doubling down or backtracking. I mean, it's insanity. But anyway, so now the Times also reported that the group has already released information about journalists at CNN, the Washington Post, and New York Times because they published pieces that White House allies say damages Donald Trump's chances of re-election. Now, how are they exactly damaging Trump? Well, here's what's funny. They quote him. They just quote him in context. That's all they do. Wow. What? So you take the president and you write down what he says. That's an attack against the president. Wow. Wow. Now, look, here's the thing. I'm not really surprised about this. Now you might be asking, wait, why? Why are you not surprised that this is happening? It's because it's already been happening. They've been doing this for a while. They've been digging up dirt on people, doing Oppo research or investigations into different people online, and using that information to try to discredit them. Two names pop up: Cenk Uygur and Sam Cedar. Right wing operatives dug up old blog posts where Cenk Uygur said some terrible things back when he was a Republican, back when he was super conservative, things that he doesn't believe now. And they presented him and said, "Ha! Look at that. You wrote something nasty. Cancel." Okay, that's ridiculous. And then they also went up to Sam Cedar, like I said, in a similar fashion. They found some old tweets, some old jokes that he had made, and tried to use that against him to get him fired off his MSNBC job. And look, this has happened not just for media, members of progressive news. It also happened to James Gunn. This is the director of the Guardians of the Galaxies movie, right? They went after Gunn, found some of his old tweets that he had disowned, that he had apologized for, and got him fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, later on, Disney corrected their mistake, but this is what they do. This is what happens. If you're conservative from the past, or were conservative at some point, or you've said something stupid, which of course everybody has, we've all had, or had something taken out of context, a bad joke, these people take that, they bring it up and say, "Oh my God, you're a terrible person. You need to be fired, disowned, canceled." In a way, they've weaponized cancel culture, which they decry themselves. Kind of hilarious. A little bit of a twist that I didn't see coming. And here's the thing. My rule, and I think most people's rule for it, is, if you said something terrible in your past or done something, and it depends on what it is, of course, or you said something hateful or stupid, and then later on, you're like, turns out, no, I don't agree with that. I was really stupid back in the past. And you have the opportunity to apologize for it, and you have apologized for it. Okay, that's fine. If you own it, you apologize for it, then it shouldn't be held against you still if you've changed as a person or if your views have evolved. Because how is anybody supposed to be able to evolve and to become a better person if they, are not allowed to owe up to their mistakes? You should be allowed to. You should be able to change your mind. You should be able to, have your opinions change. Because look, Cenk, going back to him, he used to be a conservative, he used to be a Republican. Now he's like, I used to be a knucklehead Republican. Now I'm different. Now I've changed. And a lot of people, a lot of progressives have a similar story. I used to be either libertarian or used to be a conservative Christian. Even the atheist community, people that used to be very, very, Christian fundamentalist, even switching over and saying, "Yeah, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong. And I said things that were hurtful and harmful against the LGBT community or LGBTQ community and all that." So, and I don't believe that way anymore. I've evolved on that issue. You should not have that stuff held against you. Okay? Allow people to have some redemption. But see, this tactic being used by the far right, again, it's a perversion of cancel culture, right? And it really does show some desperation. They can't attack the message, so they attack the messenger. And by the way, the message is usually, "Hey, look at what insane thing Donald Trump said today. Isn't that insane? How dare you? How dare you attack our dear leader?" So they go after the messenger, right? And look, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of terrible things Trump has tweeted, at least within the last 3 years. He doesn't apologize for that. He doubles down, or he gaslights people into saying, "I never said that. I never said that." No, you totally said it. It's within this bit of hypocrisy that those very people operate. And and here's why they can get away with this, right? It's because media is so unpopular. And people don't have a trust in media anymore. Now, look, I understand why. And look, I, more than anyone, know how much of a problem media has become, how much of an issue there is in media, and how much needs to be fixed, right? And look, let me give you some examples. You got Lawrence O'Donnell reporting on Trump's bank loans about Russia. And this is one big thing that's been going on It's the Russia, Russia, Russia in the media, especially from MSNBC, but CNN as well. Uh, you have Rachel Maddow. I mean, just going insane about Russia, not vetting sources, endless speculation being passed off in as fact. That's a problem. Now, it's okay to speculate and to be honest about that. Like, hey, I think maybe Trump has some business ties with Russian oligarchs. Okay, hey, that's fine. But at the same time, do your job. Report actual information. Anything that's speculation, you just say, this is what I think. I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what I believe. Maybe we'll see things pan out like that. Okay. But also, instead of just focusing solely on Russiagate or Russia, 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 maybe talk about climate change. Now, look, you have a great example here, Chris Hayes. Now, Chris Hayes is he tries to talk about climate change, right? And I believe that he wants to, but I also believe that he gets shut down all the time. Why? Because he's even said it himself on Twitter. It's a ratings killer. You got to remember these big corporations, these media companies are big corporations, and they have to make money. What brings in the ratings? Russia speculation. And of course, trashing Donald Trump. That's what brings in the eyeballs. Climate change, not a sexy topic. Minimum wage, not a sexy topic. That's not something that their viewers tend to identify with. Look, I don't know that many people that are subsisting on minimum wage, that are working 2, maybe 3 jobs to get by, that are sitting down and watching people on MSNBC or Morning Joe. That just doesn't happen. Okay, I don't see a lot of that. And so that's the disconnect between the audience, is that they don't care about these issues because it doesn't affect them. And so that's a big problem with the demographics in CNN and MSNBC and what information they put out to the public. And so that's a big problem, right? And again, big corporations beholden to advertising companies, to their advertisers, to their funders. And look, when your company is funded in part by fossil fuel companies, are you going to talk about climate change? Not really that much. And if you do, you're going to be praising middle of the road solutions from people like Joe Biden. And then you're going to talk dismissively about the Green New Deal or Bernie Sanders. So that's the problem here. And so I understand the frustration with the media more than your average person. But the difference here is, unlike these guys, I'm not out to destroy journalists, right? I'm not out to destroy journalism. A lot of us in independent media, we're independent media because we think you can do better. In fact, we know you can do better because we're an example of that. With our limited time and limited resources, especially, we do better journalism, well, better, I guess, commentary than you guys do. Now, the New York Times and the Washington Post, sometimes it's great journalism. You know, the Epstein stuff especially, right? And there are tons of examples that you can go to. But at the same time, also, a lot of their opinion is terrible and not representative, and I mean buried deep into the Washington establishment, and that's a big problem. Okay, and that's a big issue, and we're interested, like I said, in actually changing the media for the better, that it's more representative of the actual people, but that's not what the pro-Trump guys are interested in. They want pro-Trump media. They want their perspective, which is a conservative one. And by the way, that conservative perspective gets overrepresented in TV all the time. We're the progressives. We're nearly absent from television. It's very rare that you can turn on television and see a progressive. Every once in a while, they'll invite one to argue with conservatives on Fox News, and then they don't bring them back. Or, as of lately, to give him credit, Cuomo has actually brought on people from the Young Turks to go and have conversations with Trump supporters as well. And so there is very little representation of progressives on television, on mainstream media, and that's one of the big problems, right? Now, as far as conservative media, obviously I believe in free speech, so it's fine to have a conservative perspective, and it's fine to have them on television. Of course. And I'm actually really glad that Fox News dropped their fair and balanced BS and actually decided to be honest. They have a perspective. I disagree with that perspective, but look, they're allowed to have it. These Trump people that are literally going after journalists for reporting what Trump says and does, I have a feeling that they just want to be out there and out to stamp out disagreement. And so they are personally attacking journalists. They are putting them in danger for daring to do their job. And to me, that's not upholding the value of free speech or the free press that they swear that they're out there upholding. No, no, these are political attack dogs. These are hatchet men, and they are totally against the values of the American value of free speech.